Sagittarius, welcome to your end of September 2023 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. Well, I just got a new deck, and it's the Holographic Tarot, so you're the first sign that is going to have this spread, and, maybe I'm biased because I'm a Sag, and I wanted to give you first dibs on this. This is a card I think should be Sag. And basically the holographic tarot, from what I can understand, is that it is kind of shimmery. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's 3D or anything, like that it has extra dimensions. I mean, it just kind of like in a certain light it may show up like that. So that's all I can say about it. And so we'll see how it comes out, how I like it. It does seem kind of magnetic, so that's pretty cool. Okay. Okay, and one last card. Okay. So on the top row, which is kind of like what's happening now and kind of making sense of what's happening now, we have two cards to each side that are pentacles. So that's about the earth element. And, the first thing we think about is money and maybe work. Health can be part of that too, I suppose. Well, they say that it is, but I'm thinking in terms of like work situations. So what is in the centerpiece? Something that is, diametrically opposed, which is the Hierophant. And this is a card of, obviously, the clergy. Oh, that's one of the problems with it kind of like has a glare now, and then you can't see it. But the thing about the Hierophant is that it speaks of the conformist version sometimes of a belief system. So that can, run afoul of Sagittarius, because we tend to be questioning the status quo, don't we? And so the Hierophant can even be a card of marriage, for instance. And if that's something that has come up for you, maybe you're with someone that has said, hey, we should get married. And you might say, well, wait a second, why? Why do we need to do this? And it's part of that too, specifically with marriage, is that Sag is very independent and loves freedom. So any kind of relationship, like a contract, like I always joke and say, I don't like contracts. And the reason is it's, these binding contracts, like you have to do something for the rest of your life or for, X amount of time. It's like, what if I change my mind? Sag is a mutable sign. What if I change my mind? Sag is a fire sign. Fire signs are expansive. I'm growing. What I thought I wanted then, I don't want now, but now I'm locked in this contract. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me a flake? Because I don't want the same thing that I wanted last year or 6 months ago. No, it doesn't. So these are legitimate questions that may be coming up for you in some area of your life. And so I have a card here. I'm sorry, I got this really awkward angle here. For the past position, we have the King of Pentacles. And this is a card of, the ultimate in, when we talk about the financial arena, this is the expert in that. This is the person who is able to do that. So some of you may have been able to manifest your abundance and then some, but you're on a spiritual awakening path right now. And so it feels like those things no longer matter. As a matter of fact, that's one of the, I don't want to say symptoms because then it sounds like a disease, but that's one of the indicators that somebody is having a spiritual awakening, is that everything, or you could say a lot of things that were so important to them before, no longer have that importance. And it can feel very alienating to a person to feel like they are going through these changes because they don't understand like what's happening. Like, why is this happening to me? I, always was somebody who wanted that kind of lifestyle. And, it's because the person is changing and growing. And by the way, it's not to say with the King of Pentacles, I mean, it might be that you are financially set. And so it's not to say, okay, everybody else live in poverty. No, that's not what this is about. This is about how long are you going to pursue those things. Also, I would say too, the Hierophant, I said that I believe that it should be Sagittarius, and I found a book that agrees with me because it's about the clergy, and this card is connected to Taurus. It seems to be the exact opposite of what Taurus represents, except for maybe the conformity to tradition, being more traditional, being more of a conformist to what has already been. But in any case, the King of Pentacles can be like that Taurus energy as well, or any earth sign. So if you're dealing with two earth signs, I suppose that could be what's going on as well. I mean, that could be one possibility. And then we have the higher message, the Ace of Pentacles. This is a card of new beginnings with finances. But this is, I'm reading this as more of a spiritual lesson in all of this. What this could mean is that for some of you, you're ready for a new line of work. You're ready to step into a new way that you serve others. And it may have something to do with spiritual things. Perfect for Sag. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The card that crosses you is the Queen of Pentacles. So you notice that I'm getting, how many cards? This is the third card that's a Pentacles. So this is the challenge. The Queen represents the water element and the mother archetype. And so the person isn't nourishing themselves in that material way, meaning that they're not taking care of it. That could indicate being careless with their money. Because ultimately, we could say that money is a means to an end. If someone dies with $1 million in the bank, what does that prove? That person didn't utilize. Think of all the things that person could have done with that money. Of course, some people, that makes them feel safe, that they always have money in reserve, and I'm not saying not to have that. But when they have so much that they never took advantage of, and maybe they worked very hard for that money, it seems to me like a waste. There could have been trips they took. There could have been other opportunities, not material things to buy necessarily, but other things to experience. I also think, and this may be a bigger piece in this, is that some people may be using money in in the wrong way, trying in an attempt to nurture themselves, an attempt to, you know, like buy things that they really don't need because they're trying to take care of themselves. It's like retail therapy. Instead of looking at where their emptiness is coming from, because a lot of times I remember reading that people don't even need to go on these big fancy vacations if they on a daily basis they have enough time for themselves and for their interests, and um, they don't feel stressed on their job. But it's almost like a reward that a person gives themselves for having put up with so much crap, you know, for the past 6 months or the past year or whatever. And to me, that's not going to ultimately satisfy the individual, because they're going to have to go back to that stressful environment. So looking at it from that standpoint. Now let's look at it from the standpoint of relationships. If you are in a marriage and, maybe you have another, you realize that you made a mistake. You were with the wrong type of person. And that idea of what marriage represents, maybe you were taught that it's wrong to get divorced, or that you're not being loyal enough, and you might have those feelings inside yourself. That would, that's not such a hard thing to imagine. The truth is, like with the Queen of Pentacles, even when it comes to motherhood, which we think about with the Queen energy, is that you don't want to invest time, if you are thinking of starting a family, with somebody that is not somebody that you can see being with the rest of your life, just to have a child, because that just complicates things. Now, of course, there might be exceptions to that, but so what are you being too caught up in the concept of marriage? Or sometimes people get married once and then they never get married again, because they realize that it is just a concept. If two people are really going into it with this solemn attitude, then I think it can become something that is very magical. But if you have any kind of misgivings about it, you shouldn't necessarily go into something. Well, I definitely think you shouldn't go into things unless you're really sure that this is something that you believe in. So might be you questioning those beliefs. Now, it's interesting because it makes me think that there are some Sages that are contemplating divorce, or who are going through that process at the moment, because we have what is coming in is the Judgment card, and this can be a literal legal judgment that somebody is, waiting for. They're waiting to hear that they are free of that person. But it's also a card of rebirth, and it's also a card of cause and effect. So I think it's connected to Pluto, so it has that kind of scorpionic element to it. But the point is that you do one thing and then something else happens. You get married for the wrong reasons, and then the marriage doesn't work. I always think of the Hierophant as like a corporate culture, a corporate environment, like working in a being like a, what do they call it when you work in a corporation? A corporate executive? I don't know. But like working in that environment, because a lot of times I have heard so many people that they say, oh my God, I had to get out of that corporate environment. And they were making a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, what is so horrible, horrific about working in a corporate environment? And I think that there's probably a lot of conformity, where they want you to have groupthink. You have to wear certain styles of clothing. You have to talk. There's a corporate culture where you have to talk a certain way. That is so opposed to what Sagittarians are about. So that could have felt like you were selling your soul. So the judgment is about rebirth, and that means that you're able to reject the things that were false. Actually, that could just be one more indicator of people who are going through some kind of spiritual upgrade or spiritual awakening, where they're questioning all the things that they previously believed in, or submitted to. The outcome card is the Seven of Wands. Wands is fire. This is a defensive posture. The person is, it's almost like fighting for your individuality, or the right to be who you are. But also it's like standing your ground. So there are going to be people in your life, maybe you've already encountered this, who, if you tell them, look, I'm quitting this job, they'll say, are you crazy? Or even a marriage, if you got married for the wrong reasons or moved in with somebody for the wrong reasons, they'll say, are you crazy? This person is like the King of Pentacles. They make a lot of money. Look at this lifestyle that you're in. If you quit, you're going to be living in a studio apartment. But you know that that's okay, that you don't have to, sometimes you have to go through the emptiness of, and the limitations of that kind of choice in order to fully appreciate it and reject it in the future. You know what I mean? So the Seven of Wands to me is ultimately preserving the right to live life on your own terms and not allow other people to kind of make you second guess yourself. Because believe me, a lot of people will do so simply because they're not living their dreams, okay? It's not that they're necessarily evil people, but it's like you trigger them. When you go against the grain, if there is money involved in some way, whether it's a lavish lifestyle and you're separating from that person that provided it for you, or whether it's a job that you were making a lot of money and it kind of cements this idea that the material is really where it's at. And when you reject that, people start to get a little bit nervous because they have to question their own values, and people, they don't necessarily want to do that. So I picked a clarification card and I got the King of Swords. Again, this emphasizes any kind of legal decision that is coming down the pike. I think that in late November, when there's a full moon in Gemini, which is our opposite sign, that we will see that might, and even the one in Cancer, right after Christmas might be when it happens, because these are going to be in early degrees of their respective signs. So it might actually fall in the house before it. And so in that case, it would be, but both of those could be valid, because even a full moon in the 6th house, if this happens for you in that Gemini full moon, that could be something connected to leaving a job. But in the 7th house, it could be a verdict rendered in a legal matter, or leaving a marriage. The 7th house is the house of marriage and committed partnerships. So that could be, the King of Swords could be that specifically, but it can also be being able to navigate the changes in your life without having your emotions engaged. And that can be very helpful, because have you ever made a decision and you didn't have any fear, and it might have been an important one, but you just knew, I have to do this. Some people, I think the people that are the most self-actualized, they do this all the time. And it could be because they're very much in tune with their intuition. And so they don't question, their desires or their decisions. But I think it's human nature to do so, to be like, oh my God, what if this is the stupidest thing I've ever done? So the bottom line is to really question why you are wanting to do what you're doing. And then if it's something that is going to make your life better, it's going to elevate you in any way, then you're likely making the right decision. But Abraham Hicks says, you'll never get it done and you can't do it wrong. Meaning that there's always new things, there's always new goals that we have for ourselves, and there's no way that you can make a decision where you're going to just go down the wrong path. I think when, people make a decision that maybe isn't the best one, that then they compound that error by other things. So that's the key. We can always correct ourselves it's like, if you get married to the wrong person. This is an example of it. Maybe you're realizing that and you're not trying to run away from it. And that means that you make that particular choice to leave that relationship. You don't just stay in it because you want to prove to yourself that you didn't do the wrong thing, or you're afraid that some other decision would be even worse. I mean, that's not living life from a positive perspective. It's kind of like just trying to prevent, it's kind of doom and gloom. And Sagittarians are very positive when they are balanced. So there you go. That's what I have for you, Sag. I hope that this resonated in some way. If you would like a private reading, I'm primarily an astrologer, but I do tarot readings too. But I have a package deal. I've been doing a lot of readings for Sages in the past year. I don't know why, but I love it. But what I found is that Sages a lot of times are different. Not every Sag is the same. I would just assume that they were like me, and they're not. Some are more serious. Some are more conventional. There are all kinds of Sages. But in any case, I have a double reading called the Deep Dive reading, and it's discounted because you're buying 2 readings in one. I sell these separately. An hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for a special price. And then I have one with the chart analysis and the tarot. I think I'm calling that the combo platter. I used to call that the whole enchilada, but it really isn't whole because it's not including the transits. So now the whole enchilada includes a deep dive and a full-length tarot reading. So those are package deals, and I have single readings. I have the chart analysis separate, the transits are separate, the tarot separate, the life path, career readings, relationship readings. I even have one to read your child's chart. Looking, not predictive astrology, but looking at some of their traits so you can understand them better. This is especially, I think this could be helpful if you have a child that is hard for, you feel like you clash with them, even if they're very young. You don't feel like you're on the same page with them. And of course, I don't have children myself, but I would imagine it's just like any other human being where some people you get along with famously and some are always a challenge. And I think sometimes the challenges occur when we don't understand where that person's coming from, and we make assumptions. We think that they're doing something against us, and maybe when it comes to adults, I think sometimes, that is the case, where the person is trying to, make have some kind of create conflict with somebody else. But children I view as innocent, and when they're acting out, in our eyes that they're acting out, being able to see what is going on with them, like, look through their eyes can be very helpful so that you can have more compassion about that. So, um, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of this month. Take care. Bye.